Okay guys, I'm here today with Steven Whittier, John Franco, huge honor for me. Guys, today Steve is gonna show us here one of his favorite concepts that's all about like how to minimize the strength that you have to use to recover the mount, avoid passings, right, Steven?
Yeah, it works in a bunch of different places.
There you go, so super excited to learn. Let's do it.
Great. Okay, so the core concept here is how to really focus on not so much the technique, but the posture and the structure that precedes it. And there's a term in exercise physiology that I think is great because we're just dealing with biomechanics and physics no matter what we're doing athletically, including jiu-jitsu. And it's called energy leakage. Basically, it's like where's there a link or a weak link rather in the chain, the kinetic chain of your body. And so I'm always interested in how we can get more out of less, because most people know the quote-unquote basics, the fundamental techniques, but a lot of times we assume that we're optimal with our positioning to be able to execute those fundamental techniques, and if they don't work, then we need some other technique. But a lot of times what we really need to do is go back to that fundamental technique and make sure that we don't have any of those weak links, and we're not having any of the biomechanical leakage there, so that we can really fill in those holes at the root source. So I'll give you an example. Let me just show real quick before I have to jump on to mount. So I'll show this one posture in just a couple different places, but it comes up over and over again. You can even see it's in a vertical orientation, like in cage work against, in mixed martial arts against the cage. But if I'm mounted, for instance, a lot of times if you see somebody doing an elbow escape, you'll notice that the first thing they do is their body's kind of curled up like this, and they start to do some sort of shrimping movement, either with their elbow inside their opponent's knee or putting their hands here. And it's a legitimate technique, it can work, but when somebody's really on top and pinching their elbow in tight, or excuse me, pinching their knees in tight to your hips and everything, you'll notice that it's much easier for them to limit your movement, and then gives them a lot of opportunity to dig underneath your legs, especially if you have your knee coming off the mat, and they can start to pull up on your arm and everything. Because as you're pushing right now and your body is curled up, this is relatively light, and it's easy for somebody to pluck your elbow up and then beat that knee. So what we're gonna do is instead look at kind of the core posture that you see in yoga. You'll see like for weightlifting or proper spinal alignment. Actually, I'll go this way. And you want a neutral spine. So instead of being curled up like this, you'll notice that actually the best place to receive somebody, if they're mounting you, is completely flat, almost like you're in a coffin. And I want to have a flat spine, so I'm going to actually rotate my pelvis slightly forward so my lower back flattens out. I'm retracting my shoulders, and I'm keeping my elbows right on top of their knee, which keeps them oriented down around my hips. And that's going to make my, first of all, my UPA, but also my elbow escape much more accessible to me. And it's also going to be virtually impossible even for a stronger person to pluck that elbow up and be able to advance their knee into a higher mount. So if I bring John in here and take a look at this versus a traditional escape. So he's in good position, and he's pinching his knees in tightly. From here, I'm just keeping my elbows packed. Now, if I start to curl up an elbow, and John wanted to pluck this elbow, and I start to move, it's relatively easy. And now once he does that, it's easy for him to move his knee up and advance. When I'm in this position, however, right, if he goes to do that, I have so much shoulder retraction right now that my elbow is just glued to the mat. What's also impossible for him to do right now is to get meaningfully dug underneath my legs to be able to enhance his position with his lower body. So now what I can do is actually what I call kind of the snow angel, or doing the robot, where I just start to turn my knees, and I'm not getting onto my side, but I'm just slightly turning my knees until such a point that my knee is actually in physical contact with the mat. So you see my kneecap is touching the mat, my toes are pointed down. At this point, there's no way for even his toes to dig underneath. And now from here, even if John has a really powerful mount, I don't need to shrimp at all. All I'm literally doing is moving my elbow towards him and my knee up. And this is out. And now you're into being able to, at the very least, get into a half guard, okay? It's a very strong position.
So yeah, Steven, one more time. I'm just trying to see like all the very small details, because it's pretty much like a secret to use the elbow escape more efficiently, right?
Exactly, because the elbow escape, is what I was saying, is the technique, but we can't really separate the execution of the escape from the posture that it comes out of. And if I have a weak link in my movement and my posture, in other words, if during my movement I break my posture, that's where I will lose the ability to execute the escape, which is the elbow escape. And I might not even know what happened. I just assume, you know, he was too good or he had the counter, but a lot of times I just need to fill in those holes. So right now, by having a neutral spine and not allowing John to get underneath my feet, not allowing him to pluck this elbow, all of a sudden I'm mechanically in a much better position, right? So you see it too, like if John were leaning forward, like playing more of a tighter lower mount from here, I would just keep my arms here. I make a slight rotation until my knee is all the way touching the mat, my kneecap literally in contact with the mat, and then from here, I'm up. Okay.
That's awesome. So you don't shrink your whole body as everybody does.
Yes.
You almost keep yourself flat, but you focus more on closing your elbow and your legs instead.
Exactly. And then this movement right here is very minimal, but it becomes very mechanically strong.
Got it.
And then I'll show the exact same posture in one other situation. So if my opponent times me to dig under my legs, okay, from here, he's got a couple ways to start doing an under the legs pass. One is he can kind of drive into my hips this way and capture my hips. The other is he might grab my thighs or the back of my pants and pull me up like deadlift style. So we'll do both of them, but the first thing is you have to understand that although there are some very good techniques that I've done as well, such as this counter, somebody going under the legs, you notice that as I do this technique, I am curling myself into a ball, but look at the structure of my body as John comes in to do this pass, right? It's a ball. He wants me to be a ball. So why would I take the risk if I am early enough into my passing defense to put myself in the posture that he wants me into? So instead, from here, as he's digging underneath and he's trying to drive into my hips, what I'm actually going to do is, again, go completely...
Also, again, you're getting flat.
Neutral spine. Okay, so right now, again, I'm actually making my legs heavier by doing a slight anterior tilt to my pelvis. Now my lumbar spine is this is all happening at once, right? But I'm kind of breaking down the pieces. My lumbar spine is flat, my shoulders are retracted, my head is back. I'm resisting the urge to do this. And if anything, I'll just keep my hands here, and if he drives in far enough, he'll run into them. But right now what I'm doing is transferring all my weight like an electric current into my legs. Like you almost see it going through your body and then coursing down through your heels into the mat. So as John tries to drive in right now and get underneath, okay, he can't. And if he really persists, if he's bigger than me, okay, I can just shoulder walk back until I connect.
Steve, I would almost say Stefan. Sorry, Steven. No, Steven, I love it because, for example, I think most of the people are not flexible. So it's much harder to shrink yourself and be flexible than to do what you're doing.
Right.
So this kind of like system that you're creating, you literally don't need to be any flexible, right? Because all you have to do is kind of like to stretch yourself instead.
Exactly. And I'll give you one last piece here. So just to problem solve from here. Sometimes when people are trying to drive into your hips like that, and I'm starting to do this early enough, he will switch and go into more of that deadlift posture, and then he'll hoist me up, right? Now from here, he'll start the pass. So I had to figure that out because I had some people that were really good at transitioning into that quickly. And basically the thing is, once he goes into a deadlift posture, his head is out of the way. So from here, if you go from low, from here, and then he goes to the other posture, okay? I just swim one leg in, and I have plenty of room, even if I'm not particularly flexible. You see my leg really doesn't go past 90 degrees. And now from here, I keep my body straight, because again, if I start to curl up, he's gonna be able to leg drag that across really easily. So from here, I keep my body straight and I just start to move away. And if he does put his hand here to try and move that away, okay, go ahead. Then I just control that wrist until I can get my legs back into whatever sort of leg game that I want to play.
So you pretty much take one principle, one concept, and you apply like when the person's on the mount, when the person's trying to double under you, when the person's just trying to pass your guard, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, no, that's amazing. So guys, Steve is great with all these concepts, and he has a bunch of instructional courses at bjjfanatics.com. And I love how focused he is on concepts. Many times, like when you're learning a technique, for some people it fits way better to learn the concept instead of learning the technique, and you do such a great job with that.
Thanks so
Steve.
much.
So all his courses at IBJJFanatics.com. John Franco is doing his first instructional course with us as well, and it's going to be at IBJJFanatics.com, so make sure to check that out, and hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
BJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.